Many of us associate Hollywood with a sparkling, successful, and glamorous world. This bright face conceals a dark side riddled with scandals, personal tragedies, and internal strife. Nonetheless, there are those who may shatter this illusion, revealing fundamental truths and reawakening consciences. Mel Gibson, an incredibly skilled actor and filmmaker whose career has been marked by significant ups and downs, culminated in the creation of The Passion of the Christ, a masterpiece that has inspired millions. But how did this achievement come about? How did Mel Gibson deliver such a poignant and passionate declaration of faith? What makes the film The Passion of the Christ so miraculous? And why should we even consider it one? Join me on this wonderful voyage as I explain how Mel Gibson's life and work have captivated audiences all over the world. Mel Gibson was born on January 3, 1956, in Peekskill, New York, the sixth of 11 siblings. Mel's family relocated to Australia when he was 12 years old, marking the beginning of his remarkable journey to prominence. Mel started his acting career in Australia while attending the National Institute of Dramatic Art in Sydney. After finishing college, he experimented in theater and television, but it was his 1979 post-apocalyptic film Mad Max, in which he played the titular character, that catapulted him to global celebrity. Gibson's films Lethal Weapon, Braveheart, and The Patriot propelled him to superstardom in the 1980s and 1990s. Nonetheless, his troubled personal life overshadowed his professional accomplishments. Gibson's struggles with alcoholism and mental illness threatened everything he had worked for. His anti-Semitic rants and subsequent drunk driving arrest sparked an outcry. It appears that his career was on the verge of ruin at the time. Despite everything Mel Gibson has been through, Christianity has been his guiding light. Growing up in a traditional Catholic family, Gibson had a strong spiritual connection to his faith. But he, too, experienced times of confusion and detachment from his religion. A consistent spiritual path was difficult to sustain throughout Hollywood's prosperous years, given all of the industry's temptations and pressures. Gibson frequently mentions his own problems and how faith helped him overcome adversity. "Faith has been a compass," he explained in an interview. "It guided me when everything seemed to fall apart." His desire to rediscover and strengthen his faith, as well as to share the profundity of Christ's sacrifice with the rest of the world, were important motivators for him to create The Passion of the Christ. "Always believed in God and acknowledged his existence, but sometime in the middle of my life, I let my religion slip into the background. I realized that something else was required of me in order to survive. The idea began to grow in my mind when I was motivated to read the Gospels more closely. I began to visualize the Gospel in a very specific way, making it my own so that it could speak to me and make sense. Jesus Christ provided atonement for our sins. On a more personal level, I am moved by his suffering and feel both obligated and sympathetic to him. The gravity of his sacrifice has motivated me to seek recompense." When The Passion of the Christ premiered in theaters in 2004, it stunned the entire film industry. It was never your typical photo. The film depicts the circumstances that led up to Jesus' crucifixion on Golgotha and his agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. Gibson purposefully depicted the harshness and authenticity of Christ's sufferings in order for the viewer to grasp the magnitude of Jesus' sacrifice. The film is well known for this. "I wanted to do more than just tell a story," Gibson explained. "I wanted people to understand how terrible what Jesus endured for all of us was." The film, which included dialogue in Aramaic, Latin, and Hebrew for realism, was a risky effort filled with difficulties. When Mel Gibson was unable to obtain a Hollywood producer for the film, he spent more than $30 million of his own money to make it happen. Gibson justified his decision to depict so much violence by stating, "The reality of the crucifixion was violent and brutal." This comment aroused criticism for depicting violence so brutally. The truth of what happened cannot be hidden. There were hurdles throughout Gibson's journey. The filmmaker faced criticism both during and after the release of the film. Hollywood was unprepared for such a passionate and devout portrayal, given its unspoken conventions and tendency to censor explicit religious topics. The film received widespread criticism for its brutal violence, and some viewers regarded it as an anti-Semitic representation of Christ's suffering on the cross. This is a film about faith, hope, and love, Gibson emphasized in reaction to the criticism. This is an invitation to examine Christ's ultimate sacrifice, not an indictment of anyone. There are several reasons why Christ's crucifixion is seen as miraculous. The production issues were massive to begin with. The need to self-finance and the challenge of filming in ancient languages appear to be intended to put Gibson to the test. Despite these challenges, the film was completed and released with great success. The film's spiritual influence was more remarkable than its worldwide gross of more than $600 million. Many people were saved as a result of what occurred during Christ's Passion on earth. Many viewers claimed a spiritual awakening after being emotionally impacted by the film's message and the effect of its images. Several members of the team claimed to have had a personal conversion while filming. "I saw people change," said Gibson, people who found a new faith or rediscovered their lost faith. Mel Gibson has received countless Hollywood scoldings. He has regularly criticized the entertainment industry for its immorality and lack of depth, as well as spoken openly about the profession's temptations and expectations. "Hollywood is a tough place," Gibson said. "It's easy to get lost in its deceptions and forget what really matters." He faced professional and personal criticism for his statements and commitment to Christianity. Gibson's reputation was called into question following the release of The Passion of the Christ, when he was accused of anti-Semitism. Despite the criticisms, he remained committed to defending his work and the message of the film. "My intention was to tell the truth of the gospel," he stated, "and there is nothing more powerful than the truth." A lesson from Mel Gibson's life is that God can use anyone to spread his word. Despite the difficulties, the development of The Passion of the Christ was a miracle that impacted many people's lives, including Mel's. Everyone is aware that Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus, and the rest of the cast and crew converted. "Playing Jesus changed me," Caviezel admitted, reflecting on his experience. "I had a deeper respect for Christ's atoning sacrifice and rediscovered my faith." Aside from cinematic marvels, The Passion of the Christ is a poignant testament to the power of faith. Mel Gibson surmounted numerous challenges to create a film that has touched many people's hearts and encouraged many to make personal commitments to Christ. This image was a watershed in Gibson's life, representing a universal yearning for atonement. Faith is a light that can guide us to salvation and hope even in the darkest of circumstances. Please share your opinions in the comments box and consider subscribing to our channel to stay up to speed on new videos and join our community of believers. We ask that God bless everyone.